So we're going to be talking about other objections. Okay, so we have been talking about closing life and life objections, and the last week we got all the way through to the point of the 5-step close on people who don't have life insurance. And just to recap, right? If you're married, you have children, you don't have life insurance, you need to close when you're there. Because if you walk out of that house without an app, are you ever going to be back? No, you're not. Why? Because people who make bad financial decisions will continue to make bad financial decisions when you leave them to think for themselves. Their own thinking has gotten them to the point of making poor financial decisions. So when your influence leaves them, that's naturally where they're going to fall back to. So don't be deceived, okay? When they say, well, let's just do it the next time we get together. That time will never happen. It's never going to happen. The odds of you getting struck by a meteor are better than somebody who does not have life insurance meeting with you a second time to get it done. I mean, literally, it's about that good, maybe worse, okay? So you need to make sure that you close. So today I want to go through all the other objections you're going to get. We're going to get really specific. And if you have questions or you've been on an appointment where you've been trying to take a life app with somebody and they object to you and we don't cover it, ask the questions. There's no stupid questions because you all need to get great at this. Listen, if you're in front of somebody who can buy and they don't buy, that's on us, right? That's on us. If I took my time to come and see you and it makes sense for you, my job is to help you move forward. If I didn't get you to move forward, I have not done my job, okay? And neither have you. So you've got to get in that mindset where, and again, it's not a hard closed mindset, it's a doing the right thing for the client. Because sooner or later, if they don't have Primerica life insurance, they're going to have a bill come due that they're not going to be able to pay. They're going to have a term that explodes, they're not going to be able to requalify, and they're going to have no insurance. And they're still going to need the insurance. So you've got to be convinced and convicted, okay? Because convinced people do what? Convinced people. Okay, you got to know that you know that you know that this is the best product available to the consumer by a mile. If it don't say Primerica on it, it's a pile of garbage. You should light it on fire. Okay? It's not going to do what your family needs it to do. Right? So let's talk about some of the other objections. Right? We talked a little bit about group insurance. Okay? So most of the time, again, our process is what? Find out which scenario. They either have no life insurance, unmarried, no life insurance, they are married, they have group insurance, right? They have term insurance, and they have cash value insurance. Only 5 scenarios. Okay? So let's talk about the group insurance. So they've got group insurance. What do? You do the group insurance presentation. Jeff, do you mind if I educate you for just a couple of minutes on why you need to own your own policy and not just depend on group insurance? Sure. Is that okay, right? We went through this several weeks back, what the presentations were, right? There were 4 reasons. Who remembers the 4 reasons? Trend. Number 1 is the trend. Number 2 is what? You got to be working there. Number 3 is what? You got to be on active payroll. Number 4 is what? Living benefit. Okay? So you go through that, you do the A diagram, you say, hey, all right, let's get you started. Let me get your driver's license. I just need to ask you some questions. Okay? Here's the most common objections that you're going to get. Well, Jeff, that sounds great and all, but let me look at, I just want to look at my life insurance through work first. Okay? Where is that objection rooted? I don't believe what you're telling me. Right? No, it couldn't be like that. Right? It is. Okay, so there's many ways to handle this objection. Okay, the best way to handle this objection, in my opinion, is this. So remember, objections are always affirm, answer, close. So Steve, thank you so much for bringing that up. I definitely want you to review it because it's going to work exactly like I've talked to you about. But why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and start this application process, because if it works in the way that I've described to you, we're going to want to make the change, right? It's going to work exactly as I've described to you. So let's save each other another meeting. Let's start the process. If it doesn't work in the way I've described to you, keep what you have. We just stop this and we'll refund you your money back, but at least that way you don't have to take your time again, right? So let's go ahead and start the process. Go ahead and look at it. Okay, and if you think you have something better, when we get the policy issued, we'll look at it. If it's better, you keep what you have. Fair enough? Great. Let me get your driver's license and let's get you started. You just got to be confident. Confident. I've seen however many thousands of group policies. They all work like that. the best of the best of the best group policies, okay, that they can take if they don't work there anymore, are extremely expensive now. Okay, right? You go to Chrysler or GM or any of these, or Ford, okay, where they can take them with them. They're on 5-year renewing terms that are super expensive. Why are they super expensive? Because they haven't done underwriting for them and they can take them with them, right? Okay, so you've just got to be prepared to be able to tell them, hey, listen, I want you to look at it, Brad. I want you to do the research. It's going to work exactly like I've talked to you about, okay? And if it doesn't, if you think it doesn't, when we get the policies back, we'll look at them, you keep what you have. But that way we don't have to take each other's time to get together again to do what we could do right now in 10 minutes. Right? Does that make sense? Great, let's go forward. Okay? That's the easiest way to do it. Okay? The next line of arsenal is this. There are 2 videos that you can go and get off of my Facebook page. I have them saved. Okay? 2 videos that you can go get. One is Dave Ramsey talking about group life insurance. And the video is like a minute long, and it basically says, if all you have is group insurance, that's a bad plan. He says, even if it's free, it's still a bad plan. You need to own what your family needs, and he goes through exactly why. So that is third-party credibility to what you're saying. Jeff, you ever heard of Dave Ramsey? Sure, I have. Great. Let's see what Dave Ramsey says. And Dave Ramsey is saying the same thing you're saying to him. The next video you can get is there's a video on there. It's a news story from Texas on a teacher who was denied his $250,000 life insurance claim because he was not on active payroll. He needed to be on active payroll on September 1st. He didn't go to work that day getting chemotherapy. Wife couldn't collect. Okay? So that will give you some third-party credibility to affirm exactly what they're saying. Does everybody understand that? Okay. What happens when you run across a big 3 policy? Ford, GM, Chrysler. They're generally 5-year renewable terms, or GM has something called GVUL, okay, which is a group variable universal life policy. How do you compete against these? It's very simple. It's called total cost. Remember, they go up every 5 years, about 80%. So you're paying $30 a month now, but 5 years from now, for the next 5 years, you're going to pay $50 a month. And for the next 5 years, you're going to pay $80 a month. And for the next 5 years, you're going to pay $130 a month. And for the next 5 years, you're going to pay $200 a month. So how do you overcome that? You look at a 20-year term or however long you're looking, and you just total up the cost, right? Divide it by the amount of years, it'll show you an average annual cost. Does everybody understand what I'm saying there?
Yep.
Right? It's cheap now, it's super expensive later. Let's find out what the average is over that period of time. Your average cost is always lower. Why?
Because everyone else's policies go up at in the higher end.
Because they're not being underwritten. If you can take it with you, it is a policy that is not, it's group, but it's not really group. It operates as an individual policy. So in order for them to give it to you and allow you to take it, they've got to be charging you some big bucks because they're likely to pay out on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but they don't know anything about you, Jeff, because you got it because you work there. The guy who weighs 600 pounds, smokes 3 packs a day, and has diabetes is paying the same rate as you.
Right.
Well, how does that company make money if that's the case? And the answer is they don't, unless they charge you, who's real healthy, a lot more to offset it. Right? Okay, it's like our nationalized health care plan. How many of your premiums went up for health insurance? Why? Because our unhealthy people you have to pay for now.
Yep.
So it's just math. Somebody's got to pay the bill.
Yep.
Okay, so you got to understand how these things work and be able to find the holes in it. If they can take it with them, which only happens at the big 3, really, okay, then you're going to beat them on total cost right up front. It's not going to be like, oh, I got $1 million of coverage for $2 a month, right? It's like priced like real life insurance because it kind of is real life insurance. It's just not underwritten, okay? I won't be able to change it till next year. Yeah, this is good, but I don't want to make the change right now because open enrollment isn't until next year. Okay, how do you overcome that? First of all, it's just not true. you can only get into your benefits generally once a year, but at any time you may get out of the benefit. Your company cannot force you to pay insurance premiums, contribute to your 401k for any length of time longer than you allow. So they can always go in and cancel that group policy without having to wait till open enrollment. Okay, but a lot of people don't understand that. They think, well, I can only sign up for it once a year, I can only cancel it once a year. That's not true. Okay, everybody understand that? All right, very good. So any questions on group, specifically where you're coming across things that you're having a hard time closing? Jeremy, go ahead.
BGLI, we had a big case with a veteran, and she was all, oh, the government takes care of me. And it was,
She's like, yeah, I paid into it really long time. I just want to stay with it. And like, you realize it does go up every 5 years. It's going to be more expensive.
So you total cost, right? Did you do a total? So BGLI is for retired service people. Okay, it is 5-year term, exactly like I'm explaining with the big three, and it goes up about 80% every 5 years. Okay, so here's how you do it. You ask questions. Say, well, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, how long do you think you might need insurance for? And they'll give you a number, 20 years. Great. Well, let's see how much this is going to cost you for the next 20 years to keep what you have. Okay, and you total cost, and then you show them your total cost. You will cost less than them because, again, how much does the government know about them? Nothing. They're paying the same rate as anybody else, right? Then maybe they were really healthy 25 years ago when they got it, but who knows what's happened? Nobody's checking in on them, right? So you total cost, and you ask them, would you like to pay more for this, or would you be open to paying less for a better product?
Gotta stick with it.
UNUM.
Unum?
Yeah.
Unum is a company.
But I ran into somebody that was in Primerica, and he said they're making it so the group can take you can take it home.
Sure, it's just what we've described. That happens too as well at the big three. If you can take it and you didn't get underwritten, it's going to cost you a whole lot of money. You're going to be cheaper total cost, right? Okay, so that's number one. Is I would just ask them, how long do you need the coverage? Let's total cost it and let's look at it. Okay, that's really how you do that. But you brought up another objection. I've been paying into this for so long, I don't want to stop. They're like emotionally attached to their life insurance policy.
but she's only 24 at the same time.
You meet these people, especially when you're dealing with people who have whole life. They're like emotionally attached to it, right? So how do you do that? Say, Kia, listen, I totally understand. I appreciate that. Affirm, answer, close. Okay, but clearly this is a better product at a lower price, right? Okay, so I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that you would just willfully throw money away on if you could get a better deal because you've been doing it so far? And that doesn't make much sense, right? If we're wasting money, we should stop wasting money as soon as possible. We don't want to continue wasting the money because we wasted money before, right? I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? You'd agree with that? Great, let's get you started.
I didn't say that.
Yep, let's get you started. Okay, so you just need to use common sense with people. Like, oh, I've just had this forever. Well, if you're going in the wrong direction, just because you've been going in the wrong direction forever, does that mean when you figure out you're going in the wrong direction, you should just keep going? Should you turn around and go in the right direction? Right, that's what I'm trying to help you do. Let's go ahead and get you started.
Is it a myth or is it true? I wanted to mostly GM workers who have retired
Yep.
and have group insurance still, like $100,000 or $120,000, something like that. Is that a myth or is that actually true? They actually have this group insurance.
Yeah. So again, just so we're all clear, GM Ford Chrysler will allow you to keep it after you retire. It's just ungodly expensive, and you're going to beat the price every time. Now, some of them, like Ford, gives you little dinkers that are free that you can keep after you retire. But they keep going down, and by like 75, they're worth zero. Yeah, so that happens too. But again, they probably need more than the 20 or 40 grand or whatever that they're giving them. Yeah, but so just understand, this is why God gives us brains to think things through. Somebody's giving them the insurance. Yes or yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Some insurance company has given them insurance. That's how they have life insurance. Okay? That company needs to make money, yes or yes?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Okay. So if they don't know anything about you and they're allowing you to walk around with it, it must cost more than somebody trying to give you the same thing that knows more about you so they can put you in a rate class with your peers. Yes or yes?
Yes.
This is 30,000. You take the company names, doesn't matter how they got it. Let's just talk about how the world works. Some company gave them insurance. That company needs to make money. Therefore, for that company to make money, the less they know, the more it costs. If you're willing to discriminate against yourself by doing a health test to prove you shouldn't be paying the same rate as the guy who's smoking and has diabetes, all these things, you're going to do better than continuing to be lumped in there. Well, I got to do it. It's just not how it works. Somebody's got to pay. There's no such thing as getting a free lunch. Somebody's got to pay that claim when it comes out, and that company's got to make money or they wouldn't offer the insurance. Right? Does everybody understand that? Okay, so therefore, when you're sitting across the kitchen table, you hear things that sound too good to be true. I got 120 grand, blah, blah. There's a problem. Yeah, you just need to go and find the problem, right? And the problem might not be right now. He's 68. It might be when he turns 70, the policy doubles, right? You're $50 a month more now. You'll be $200 a month less in 2 years. And then in 7 years, when the next 5-year ban comes in, it's going to be even less expensive. So you just got to understand how this stuff works. Any other questions on group?
If you're going by what they tell you and they don't actually have it there, are you at that point fighting the ghost?
Well, there's no such thing as a ghost because there's no policy. Group insurance, they don't have policies. They have a certificate. Okay? So it still doesn't matter because you've done the 4 reasons. So if that client can look at you in the face and say, yeah, I don't care that it can go away at any time. I don't care that I still have to be working there. I don't care that I have to be on active payroll. I don't care that if I get sick, I can't get access to the money. I just don't care. Okay, you're probably not with somebody you want to be doing business with at that point. I mean, this is just somebody who's way off in left field.
So if you're speaking to someone who has left GM or Chrysler and carried that policy with them, at that point they would be issued a policy, is that correct?
Depends. Sometimes it's still just part of their group.
Okay.
Yep, sometimes it's part of their group. Sometimes they have their own policy. Generally, it's part of the group. They just have a group provision to be able to take it with them when they leave. But they do have active payroll issues. Right? Active payroll while they're employed. Any other questions?
That was it. That they don't have actual policies.
Yep.
And my uncle was like, well, I'll have to see what you're
So
saying is,
let me look at it first.
Yep.
Remember, we just went over that. Great. Listen, what I'm telling you is exactly right. Okay? So why don't we go ahead and get this process started? And if it's not right, then keep what you have. Get your information. We'll sit down and compare them side by side. I'd be happy to come back and look at it with you. You, by the way, what's the English you got to put on the cue ball there? You need to get permission to come back when they have the information. Because you think they're going to read through a 100-page document and understand it? Right? So you can go in 2 or 3 places, really, like in 5 minutes, show them, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem. Do you understand why this is better? Right. You want something that's going to work, right? Not something that doesn't work, right? Okay, great.
I had a friend who was on vacation for 2 weeks, passed away on vacation, and because he wasn't on payroll for that time period, he wasn't there. He wasn't on disability. He wasn't leaving the job. He was just on vacation. He didn't get paid for group.
Yeah. There's all sorts of issues with these things, you all.
So you can't
Just
do
remember,
anything worse.
I have $1 million for $8 a month. Something's wrong.
Right.
Why? Somebody's got to pay the claim. How are they going to make money unless there's every loophole in the world to get the $8 and not have to pay the million? If you take $8 a month from every person in America and never have to pay a claim, that's a pretty dang good business. If you have to take $8 from every person and be on the hook for $1 million every time one of them dies, that's not a good business. You can't win like that. How are they winning? We got to think, right? Any other questions on group before we move on?
Is there ever a situation where you would encourage, if the husband doesn't want to go for it for whatever reason, but still do a policy for the wife and kids?
Sure.
Yeah.
Anytime. Yeah, you take what you... Sometimes, okay, so you can't fix stupid, right? So sometimes you're going to meet people that are wonderful people, but they're just not all here upstairs in terms of making great decisions, right? Every once in a while I meet people who want to keep their whole life. And they're like, well, I'm going to get term 2. Am I going to keep arguing with them? Oh, your whole life is terrible. You need to. I say, okay, great. Let's fill out the app. When I come back and deliver it, I'll try to explain to you again why what you have is bad and why you're wasting money. My favorite is like, well, it's just a part of my portfolio. I'm thinking to myself, if you have a horrible product, like if you knew this product's good, this product's good, this product's good, but this one's horrible, but I just want to have it as part of my portfolio so I can have a diversification of products. If it's just bad, then let's replace that piece with something else that's not bad. Like, it's just part of an overall picture. I'm like, well, whoever's painting that picture is not very smart, right? Because you're buying something we know is bad just for the sake of being able to say you have two different things. That doesn't make any sense.
But I like my BP stock.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the answer is absolutely yes, right? I'm not going to sell past the close, which is what you're describing. Should I still keep trying to convince somebody to do it if they're okay with doing this? Don't sell past the close. Right? Take what you can get them to do, and when you come back, try to explain to them again why what they have doesn't make sense, or why the husband needs to go forward anyways, right? But I'm not going to fight with them and lose the sale. I'm going to get the sale done that I can get done, and I'll come back for the rest. Any other questions on group? Going once, going twice. Sold. Other insurance. Okay? So, you're going to get this a lot. Not a lot, but sometimes. Well, I want to talk to the other agent first. I feel like I kind of owe it to them about that, right? Okay. So, here's how the best way, in my opinion, to overcome that objection. Martin, listen, I absolutely appreciate that. But let me kind of put in the big picture for you what's happened. Because really, one of two things has happened here. Okay? Because you agree that what I've shown you is an improvement over what you have, right? Okay. So one of two things has happened here, Martin. The first is, I'm sure that your fella sold you the best thing that he had. He found you the best thing he could find. He got you the best product he had. And we know it's just not the best fit for you because this is better, right? Okay, great. So that's option one. Option two, I hope this isn't the case. It could be. I hope it's not. Option two is he willfully sold you a bad product. He didn't sell you the best he had. He sold you a bad product. You've now caught him in it. And you're going to call and say, well, hey, what's going on? Oh, Martin, wait a second. I do have something better. Here you go. Okay. He either sold you the best he had, or if he didn't sell you the best he had, now you caught him. I wouldn't want to do business with somebody who's pulling one over my eyes. So what are they going to do the next time? Mm-hmm. Right? You wouldn't want to do business with somebody willfully taking advantage of you, right? So listen, either way, Martin, I mean, you can call him, but the answer and the outcome is really irrelevant. He either doesn't have something better, or he does and he didn't sell it to you. Right? So this is an improvement. Let's make the improvement. Let's go ahead and get you started. Okay, so that's how I close that. Because that's only two options, y'all. They sold him the best thing they had, and it's just not the best thing for him. Or B, right, when it's cash value insurance or something, they could have sold him term, but they didn't. Why? Because they were lying in their pockets with big old premiums on teeny little face amounts, right? So either way, does it make sense for them to engage that agent again? No. But if they do, guess what that agent's going to do? That agent's going to lie up and down. So these people are professional deceivers, you all. I mean, there's no better way. I'll never forget, I was training a guy. I ended up at his buddy's house as an electrician. And a lot of these unionized people, they have these whole life agents that just go and they prey on these people, right? And that's what had happened to him. He had a $50,000 whole life policy. We switched him out, got him $500,000 for the same price. Well, that guy calls because he gets the replacement for him. He's telling him, hey, Art Williams is in jail, and that's Art Williams coming, all these things, right? And the guy called me, he's pissed. Like, I want to cancel this right now. This is what he said. This is what he said. I'm like, listen, bro. Will you do me just one favor? I just want you to go and Google that. Is Art Williams in jail? And then call me back. And like 30 minutes later, he calls me back. He's like, that son of a... He's like, I read all this stuff about how these guys hate this guy, and he's never was in jail and never had any of these things. Why would he say that to me? I'm like, because that's what they do. The same reason he sold you this bull crap and told you it worked one way, it didn't work anything like it. And he was pissed. He was like Crusader, right? Okay, after that. Okay, but these people will lie through their teeth. Lie. And confuse and deceive, right? Okay, so You just got to understand they're way better salespeople than you all are. They're way better salespeople than you all are. You have the truth on your side, but they deceive people for a living. That's what they do. So you want to avoid that confrontation, okay, with the agent in terms of the client going back and talking to the agent without you. If they're absolutely sold on, I must talk to the agent, what do? You go with them.
Yep.
And you have an agent confrontation because they can't win that. So here's how you do the agent confrontation. Take your phone out. Say, hey, I know you're okay with this. I'm just going to record our conversation just to make sure that everything that's said here is accurate for our client's protection. And then you start asking away. So when they die, do they get the death benefit and the cash value? Well, no, did you know that, Mr. and Mrs. Klein? Because that's what I told you, right? You didn't think it worked that way, but you just heard. Okay, great. And you know, and so it's a universal life. So and you know, Mr. Agent, right? This policy could go away. It's not guaranteed, right? Because it's going to have a cost of insurance, a lot of variables. So like it says here on the front page of your policy, the coverage could expire, even if all the premiums are paid. That is true, isn't it? Well, yeah. So Jeff, you heard that, right? Because that was one of the things I brought up to you. You just weren't sure. So, Mr. Agent, could you tell me why it's in Jeff's best interest to have a policy that could go away at any time, that's 4 or 5 times expensive, is what I'm offering him, and you know, and there's going to be half of the coverage? Why is that the right thing for him? Could you tell me why you sold this to him? Well, you know, and you just record it, right? Those guys will leave that house with their tail tucked so far between their legs because you are on the truth side. The numbers work, okay? But you never let your client go and talk to them because they will schmooze and lie and deceive till kingdom come. That's what they do. Until you know the right questions to ask. And they're like, are you with Primerica? They know. I was talking to a guy one time that somebody referred me to. He was a whole life agent. And he's like, is this A.L. Williams? I'm like, no, it's Primerica, but it used to be A.L. Williams. And he starts throwing a fit. He's like, you guys replaced so much of our policies. We hated you. I'm like trying to record the conversation. I'm like, I gotta get her, but I couldn't get my recorder up and work. But he was just going crazy. And it's like, I haven't been A.L. Williams since 1990. And this dude's like reliving a nightmare, being chased around by A.L. Williams, replacing it. Okay, so talk to my other company. That's how you avoid that. Okay, here's the other way to avoid it. Jeff, listen. I understand. I'll always go through the 2 reasons. Say, well, yeah, but I just feel like I need to be, just out of loyalty to them, I'll do it. Say, listen, Jeff, that's okay. I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I came with you, right? Because I've taught you some things that you didn't know about this, right? And he's going to talk to you about some other things you may not know about. But I know, so I can go and I can help you figure that out. So I'm sure you'd be okay with it. But Jeff, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead with our application process. Let's get the new policy in place. And let's make sure it even works out before we go and bark up this other guy's tree. Because there's some possibility you get declined, it comes back, it just doesn't make any sense. And you've gone, you spent time, you rustled this guy's feathers, and then we can't even do it for you. So let's at least get it done and know what we're talking about here so we could maybe even bring both of them on the table. Is that fair? That makes sense, right? We don't want to cause a problem for that fella if it's not something that ends up working out. You understand that? Great. You all pick that up, right? If they're adamant about it, that's fine. We'll go do it. But let's not do it right now because you don't even have a policy. Because guess what this guy's going to say? Well, bring me the policy. And you're going to be like, well, I don't even have it yet. And, okay, so before we go and stir that pot up, let's get you something, and then we'll go back and we'll talk with them about it. Okay? Any other questions on these?
Now, if you do that, what generally happens when it comes back?
They don't go and meet with the agent.
No, they just cancel it, right?
You just put their policy, your policy together. Say, look,
right.
Just with your own eyes.
Right.
So it was fine. I just told him that's how Primerica does it. But when I went to the A diagram, he was like, "Why do I have to put money down? I never did it for the other company, I got insured. I'm like, well, this is just how we do it. He was like, well, can't I? I'm already insured with another company.
Sure. So if that's for conditional receipt of coverage. So you could take it COD, but I'm not going to mess with people who are not willing to put a little skin in the game because it's never going to go through. So here's what I would just explain to them. I say, look, think about it like a good faith deposit. We're going to spend quite a bit of money underwriting you, taking blood samples, pulling records, etc. We know you have coverage already. Before we spend all that money, we want you to be at least certain enough that if we can improve, you're willing to put a little bit of a deposit down. If you don't go forward, you get it back. But it just lets us know you're serious about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah. Okay. I want to wait until I get closer to the end of the term. Okay? So you're going to see this when there's a price discrepancy. Remember, they're on a 15-year term. They're 4 years in. They have how long left? 11 years. Okay? And so you're showing them a new 15-year term with a decreasing benefit. They've told you they're going to need coverage at the end. You've shown them how expensive it's going to be. It's a problem. But you're more expensive because you have 4 years longer on it. So sometimes the client's going to say, well, yeah, this is good, but why don't I just wait a few more years at a cheaper rate and then I'll get this? That's a smart client. They're trying to outsmart the system. Right? There's two things they forgot about.
Age.
Yeah, health and age. But namely, the numbers I'm showing you are not static. They're also going up. So you save a little bit of money for the next year or 2 years at this lower rate, right? But then you pay a higher rate for the whole rest of the time. And the math always works on that, right? They say there's a $500 annual discrepancy on a $1,500 policy for the next 3 years or something, right? Okay, so they say $500 a year for 3 years by staying with their current coverage in their mind, right? The problem is your $1,500 policy 3 years from now is not $1,500, it's $1,800 if they can get it. So yeah, you saved $1,500 over 3 years, but on a 20-year policy at $300 extra a year for 20 years, because you didn't get it now, you got it then, that's $6,000. So I just ask you, Jeff, does it make sense to lose $6,000 to save $1,500? No, it doesn't, right? Let's go ahead and get you started now. Just explain to them, Jeff, you are bringing up a really great point. You're thinking about this exactly right. The only problem, Jeff, is the actuaries have outsmarted you. They know exactly what you're trying to do. They're going to get their money. These are very, very smart people. You're a smart person. These people are way smarter than you and I combined. Okay? And what they know is you're trying to save money, but here's the deal. It's going to cost you this much more times that many years. You thought you saved money, but you didn't save money. You lost money. By the way, so I'm not talking about what if you can't get it. I'm not into scare tactics with people. Even though that's true, what if they can't get it? Well, I'll just hold on to this for a couple of years, then I'll do that. They have a heart attack. Now they're stuck. Now they can't get it. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, Matt, listen, what happens if you have a heart attack? I mean, I just don't roll that way. That's true, but I'm just going to use numbers to show them. Like, hey, look, you're exactly right. Even if you could get it, it's still going to cost you more. Okay? Anybody have questions on this? Going once, going twice. ART. What happens when you see people who have ART? What's ART? Annual renewable term. The biggest propagator of ART in this area is who? Northwestern Mutual, baby. You got it. You're doing your homework. These guys are the worst at this, right? Okay? They're out there selling ART to everybody. So ART is annually renewing term. Cheap now, very expensive later. ART is the most expensive form of term insurance you can buy. That's what Universal Life is made out of, by the way, right? And Variable Life is made out of ART with an investment component. So it looks cheap now, but the price stays the same for how long? 1 year. 1 year. Okay, so how do you beat it?
You can calculate the year.
Total cost. Total cost. You'll always beat an ART. 20-year level term to 20 years of ART, you always win. By a lot. Well, but I'm only paying $80 right now, Jeff, and yours is $120. Jeff, I understand, but let's look at how much it's actually going to cost you over the time. Right? So if I could get you something that costs you less over the time you need it, you'd rather pay less than more, right? Okay, great.
So in their policies, it actually shows how much
Every year
it's
shows
go
how
up
much
every
it goes
year?
up. Sure. And you just get out a calculator and calculate it out. Keep adding the numbers together.
I had one that started at 80, and ours was 226, and him drastically going up to 226, we're saving him $35,000.
So what Chris said is his current premium was $80 a month. Our premium on the level term was $226 a month. Even though it was $150 a month more expensive, over the time that he needed the policy, he was going to save him 35 grand because the 80 keeps doing this, and the 226 stays here, right? They've never read their policy. They have no idea how it works.
You add the cost each year and
Each
then
year.
divide it by the amount of
Divided
years.
by the
term length.
by the amount of time they're going to need it, 20, 25, 30, 35 years, and then you show them your annual cost, and your annual cost is always less on an ART. Any questions on ART? Okay. Return of premium. Return of premium is a super scam. Okay, but here's the pitch. It sounds wonderful. Jeff, if you don't die, we're going to give you all the money you paid back. Versus you don't get anything back if you don't die. At first glance, it looks tremendous. Okay? But remember, somebody's got to make money. So how are they making money? Here's how they're making money. Okay? ART, or I'm sorry, return of premium is at a premium over a normal term policy. So if $1 million term costs $80 a month, a return of premium is going to cost $130 a month. Okay? Everybody following that so far? Right? So here's, let's see, do I have a pen in here or a dry erase? I don't think I do. I could draw with a highlighter, but it's going to probably permanently stay.
So we'll always.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Brad, crack the window.
So here's how it works, right? So I use this example, okay? Yeah, it's getting a little spicy in here, huh? Okay. So I'd say, Chris, let's pretend we weren't talking about life insurance, we were talking about refrigerators, okay? One refrigerator costs $1,000, okay? And in 30 years when it breaks, you get nothing back, okay? Refrigerator 2 costs $2,000, but in 30 years you get all $2,000 back. You use the refrigerator for free. Which one would you buy?
$2,000.
Yeah, you buy this one all day long, right? Okay, but here's the problem. Okay, here's what you're forgetting. If you would have bought the $1,000 refrigerator and taken the other $1,000 and saved it for 30 years, at interest, that $1,000 is about $12,000. So yeah, you didn't get any money back, but you have $12,000 saved from the difference. So what did that refrigerator actually cost you? $10,000, right? The difference. That was a really expensive refrigerator, wouldn't you agree, Chris?
Yep.
It's exactly what they're doing with you here. They're charging you more, you get it all back, but if you would have saved the difference, you'd have like 7, 8 times what you're getting back. Right, does that make sense, Chris? Okay, the second problem with return of premium is it forces you to cancel the policy. So the only way to get the money back is at the end, you get rid of the insurance. But what if you still need the insurance? Haha, joke's on you. Now they've overcharged you the whole time, and you don't get anything back.
You might not know, but a conversion of the return of premium to rolling and a whole life option probably.
Is there? Is that what you're asking?
I think that there is.
There's always a conversion option for whole life on term insurance, except through Primerica. Yeah, so they'll allow you to take that cash and put it into a whole life policy, which is even worse, right? Okay. Does everybody understand this concept?
Yep.
If you take the difference in cost and invested it, you'd always have 3, 4, 5 times more invested, and you could keep your insurance if you needed to, versus being forced to cancel. And yeah, you got your money back, but basically what you gave them is an interest-free loan the whole time. They just used your money. You didn't die, and they just gave you your money back, and they made all the money.
What's the length of those policies?
Depends. Generally 20, 30 years. They're generally not 10-year terms. They're generally longer.
It's quite a difference, though. The premiums
Premiums are marked different. Why? Okay, remember, somebody gave these people insurance, yes or yes?
Yes.
They need to make money on it, yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, so how do they make money on it? There's some risk there of them dying, which would be the same risk they have with us or any other term that's just term. They got to cover that, and then they got to take extra money in house to cover the fact they're going to give them all the money back.
They got to
Right.
make the money, plus they got to make.
They got to have enough money to make a spread to afford to give it back to you if you don't die. They got to make enough to cover the cost of actually insuring you, and then they got to have enough money in house to earn interest on during the 20 or 30 years to afford to give you the premiums back.
Right.
So,
You can invest it yourself.
Yep. So you just, it's buy term and invest the difference. That's what we're teaching them. On term insurance, it's way too expensive. It's going to give them principal back.
so you've done a million of these. Rule of thumb: as soon as I hear a client say return of premium,
I say we need to sit down
going to
immediately.
beat their premium
Always.
by every time.
Always. Why is that?
I know why. I was just
Because
wondering.
how could they afford to give you the money back unless it costs more than buying something that doesn't give you the money back?
Same reason for tax returns.
Yep.
How do you conquer the objection when the return of premium is an included benefit?
It's always included. It just
I had a
costs more.
policy that said no additional cost.
It's just built
to
into the
have it.
cost.
So it's just
It's not a
built in
rider.
somewhere.
It's built into the actual premium. The
It's
premium
worded
itself.
It's worded differently.
Yeah, they're just calling it something different. Instead of saying your life insurance costs 80 and the return of premium rider costs 30, they're saying your policy costs 110, is the return of premium is free.
God, that's even good word.
Yeah. We'll just say it costs nothing. They'll never know. I got this great plan to market this. Just say it doesn't say it's free. It's like Art Van, it's like 90% off the regular market price. You go to a couch, it's like $19,000 couch, 90% off, right? Okay. You go back tomorrow, the couch is $1,500, right? When the sale's off, it's not 90% off anymore, but suddenly the price went.
So for return of premium, what if it's a 20-year term and there's 5 years left? So they're going to lose money if they cancel it right there. Why not just wait out the 5 years and then get the money back?
Okay, so he's asking, what if they're super in? Number one, that's never going to happen because return of premium has not been around for 15 years. Okay, so you're never going to see somebody that far into one because it's a relatively new way of scamming people that the life insurance industry has come up with. Okay, but let's just hypothetically use that example. Okay, so let's say he's got 5 years left, he's going to get all the money back, right? So what do? How do you overcome this? Chris, are you okay having no insurance in 5 years? No? Okay. Well, let's just look at this as a break even, and let's buy you some insurance. You're just getting all the money you paid back, but you're not going to have any insurance, right? So let's call this a no interest savings account, and let's get you some life insurance that's actually going to be life insurance for you. Well, I'll wait till then. That's fine. How do you overcome that? Right. Well, you're going to be 5 years older, so it's not going to cost this anymore. It's going to cost this. So you think you're saving 5 years of premium, but you're way overpaying for the rest of the time.
Also, I think it's like the 3 return of premiums I've seen, they have built in there, you may not get 100% of what you paid.
But generally you can
may
get some
like
of it back.
70%, at that point probably be like 75%.
Yeah. So they give you a piece of it back generally. It's generally not all or nothing.
Yeah. One that I did actually had a table for every year.
Yeah,
if
what
you
percentage
cancel
they got
during
back.
this year, this is how much you get back.
Yep, exactly. Paid up whole life or paid up universal life or variable life, okay? Is universal or variable life ever going to be paid up? No. But can they stop paying on it? Yes. But where does the payment come from? Cash value. So you got to help clients understand, well, I'm not paying anything for it. No, that's not true. You're not cash flowing anything to it, but you're paying out of your asset. Your asset's being depleted to pay the premium. It's not free. They think it's free. I just put all this money, it's free. No. Nothing's free. Right? Nothing's free. So paid up whole life. If it's actual whole life, can it be paid up? Yes, it can. How do you pay up a whole life policy? You put so much money up in front that the interest that it earns will be enough to pay the premium and satisfy it. That is the worst sort of whole life you could have.
Talking about lump sum up front.
Well, or they've just paid massive premium payments into it for 5 or 10 or 15 years. Why is this the worst sort of whole life they have?
Because it's gonna cancel early, it's gonna lapse early.
No, not whole life. That's universal or variable life. If it's a real whole life that's really paid up, will they ever have to pay a premium again? No. But how are they paying? If they die, all that pre-funded money is what? Gone. If you're going to have a whole life, you might as well put as little into it as possible on a monthly basis so you have as little in the cash as possible when you die.
Gotcha.
Because they take it all. The only way you pay up a whole life is to pre-fund it, to fund it at a faster rate than the normal premium would have done. But that puts you in a bad position because you've got more of your own money securing the death benefit and less of the company's money securing the death benefit. Does this make sense?
So they can make all that money on it.
Yeah. So, Jeff, it's not free. It's not paid up. You're not paying cash. But here's what you've done. How much cash you have in there? 30 grand on a $100,000 policy you put in over 3 years. Okay. So if you die tomorrow, that 30 grand's gone. Okay. And they're paying you 70 of their own money. You just say, look, what if we paid, $30 a month for the 100 grand, and we took this 30,000 out, we let it grow for 30 or 40 or 50 years or however long. Run that on Money Chip. It's millions. That paid up whole life's costing that client millions in lost investment income. Right. You understand that concept? Yeah, because it's he's secured it all. You've taken a big chunk of money and you put it as security for that policy.
Isn't he going to suffer surrender charges on the
Potentially. What about surrender charges? That's a good one. Well, I don't want to cancel it because I'm going to get surrender charges. Dumb, super dumb. Why? Okay? The company is smart. That you figured them out. You realize they're scamming you. Now they're going to charge you a big hand slap for trying to get your money out. Right? Okay, well, let's just stop and think about that. Why would they be doing that? Because if you're going to take the money out, why not take the money out now and get them to stop covering you? Unless they're going to get even more money from you between now and when they've determined they cannot charge you, right? So again, that whole life, that cash is going to grow in interest, right? And you think, well, what if I just waited it out to get it back? Okay, if you run the math on it, it never makes sense. Take the surrender charge out, stick it somewhere else, and get it out. Because if you die tomorrow, you lost 50 grand trying to save 2 grand of surrender charges. Right? And if you put the money in something other than whole life, paying a 4% interest rate, in a year, you're going to get that money back through some sort of market return. Well, what if it loses money? It ain't going to lose money forever.
What if the guy is 65,
and he's got a paid up whole life? It's all relative. So to have whole life is always more expensive than term. Yes or yes? Okay. So if he front loaded it and it still has a surrender charge, that means it's a newer policy, which means his cost of insurance was equally as high relative to the cost of insurance would have been on term, and the term is always going to be less than the whole life. It never works. You show me that policy, we'll smoke it 100% of the time because it just works in that way. The whole life needs more money to service it than the term. If he's 65, if he's 45, if he's 25. They work in a lockstep. Whole life is always going to be some multiple cost of insurance as term insurance is. You understand? 65, 45, 25, irrelevant. There's term's always going to be way less expensive. So he's put all this money into the whole life to try to not have to pay the premium anymore, right? But again, it's all at risk. It's all at risk, right? That money's gone. When you die, Leonard, the money's gone. Yes or yes? So what was your payment? Well, your payment was whatever amount of cash value you lost. Well, how long could we take that same money and pay premiums with on a term policy? Virtually indefinitely, right? That's basically how it works, right? But you wouldn't have to pay it all at once. So theoretically, you could take the lump sum and invest it, take part of the interest, pay the term premium, and still keep growing the asset and not lose it when you die. When you die, you get both.
Have you ever seen a whole life policy that pays both the death benefit and the cash value?
Whole life cannot pay the death benefit and the cash value. Universal life and variable life can if you buy that as an option, which makes it even more expensive. But whole life cannot pay both. What about a paid up edition? Whole life, you can buy paid up editions where you sacrifice the cash value to keep adding to the death benefit. but then you don't have cash value. Your cash value is buying insurance at a it's essentially buying paid up whole life.
Might as well get term.
Correct, exactly. Okay, so this is kind of complex. The moral of the story is, again, you just got to understand, somebody's got to make money on the deal. How are they making money? You've traced their money, you find the problem. Okay? I don't have any money right now. This sounds great, but can you come back next Friday? What do? Save and submit. We have a feature where you can take the app, get it completely done. Instead of submitting it now, you can save and submit later. How long will they let you hold the app? 14 days. What happens in 14 days if that app doesn't submit? It deletes. Okay? So, if that's really an objection, remember there's a difference between an objection and a condition, right? And if that's the real objection, they don't have money, say, Jeff, listen, that's no problem. You said you'd have it next Friday. Wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the app done. It's going to go in next Friday, okay? And if you die between now and then, you better find somebody to go put this money in that bank account for you, okay? Okay, so you tell somebody you got this out here, okay, in case that happens. But listen, Jeff, it's coming out next Friday. You can't call me and be like, hey, something happened, I don't got... It's coming out.
They will honor that?
Huh?
They will honor that? If
Who?
somebody else pays a...
Absolutely. The app, when's the app time stamped?
Gotcha.
The moment those signatures are recorded, it's time stamped. If you send that through and there's money there, they have to pay. It is in the client's best interest to do that versus doing nothing.
Right.
Right? It's going to go off the date of the signature. The money's irrelevant as long as there is money there, right? And Primerica has paid out numbers of times on people who didn't even have money in with conditional coverage, on agents, family members, etc. Right? Assad has an RVP named Richie who he did a policy on his uncle. The uncle never did the paramed. It went not taken. They refunded him the money. He died, and Primerica paid the claim. They had absolutely no legal responsibility to pay that claim whatsoever. Zero, and they paid the claim. You know, so they're going to do the right thing. They're not out there trying to weasel people out of stuff, right? So they're going to pay the claim. So what do you do though? You need to make sure you have the conversation. Jeff, it's coming out on Friday. You can't call me, text me, email me, say, you're just going to have to figure it out. So you're good on Friday, right? For sure, right? I'm not calling you to remind you, okay?
Do you put the date that you want it to come out?
No. So what happens is you have it, you just go in and submit it when it's ready to come out, right? Okay. But I want to set very firm expectations to that client. I'm not calling you to remind you it's coming out on that day, because if the client knows, right? Because people who have no money, they're always robbing Peter to pay Paul. When they figure out you're Peter, when's that app going in? 6 months from never, right? When you're Paul, they find a different Peter.
Yep.
It's all about setting and managing the client expectation.
You can sign and then just not click submit, hit exit, and it saves
No,
it.
well, you can do that, but what you should do is hit save and submit later.
Oh, okay.
And it saves it in the queue. And it deletes after 14 days. Okay?
She hit save and submit later, and you gotta go back the next Friday. And
Nope.
No.
No,
You can you can go in, you have to go into the Turbo apps and hit the submit when you're ready to have it come out.
Put it in your calendar.
Yeah, put it in your calendar. But you got to set the client expectations. My favorite are, I did save and submit, but I got to call them on Tuesday to confirm. That app is never going through. Oh, thank you for calling. This happened and that happened and this happened. Oh, let's do it next Tuesday. You call them next Tuesday. Oh, thank you for calling. Because you're Peter. You're Peter.
So you don't tell them that you're gonna submit it on Friday. You just let them know
I tell them it's coming. No,
going
well, I don't say the word automatically because that's not true.
We told them once.
It will process on that day. Can't.
Zodi, it's going to come out on this day.
There's no term.
Yeah, you do not ever say something that is not true to that client. Okay? Ever. Right? Because if something goes awry and you've told them something that's not right, you got a problem. Well, he told me it was automatically coming out. Well, that's clearly not the case. You are in control of that as the agent. But I set the client expectation. Jeff, listen, you're good for Friday because it's coming out on Friday. But I'm never going to say the word. It's automatically coming out. It's coming out on Friday. Why? Because I'm going to send it in because it's the right thing for you, Jeff. Because you have no insurance, Jeff. You need to get this done, right? Okay. So I'm going to help you make that decision, but I'm going to set up that client expectation so they know there's no miscommunication here whatsoever. Well, can you call me to remind me? No, I cannot, Glenn. I'm not going to call you and remind you. Okay? This is going to come out on that date. I need you to write it down. I need to make sure you're good. If you're not good, we're just not going to do this.
This could probably never happen. It's a probably dumb question, but what if they died before you hit submit?
That's what we just talked about.
But
The signage are dated when?
When you push the signatures.
Signatures were time stamped when they were recorded.
So they're conditionally covered even
Not technically. If there's no money in the house, they're not conditionally covered.
Make sure somebody has the money.
Yeah, I have a question for you. It's about whole life. I want to get back to one of my reps to make sure I answer him correctly. I know that if you pass away, before the age of 100, blah, 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 you're going to get either the cash value or the death benefit. Now, if you live to 100,
they just give you the cash.
What's in the cash value?
And it's equal to the death benefit.
It is equal to the death benefit.
At age 100 on whole life.
Okay.
Not true on any other form of life insurance, but on true whole life is the least bad of the cash value life insurances. Why? Because at least it's guaranteed to be there.
Right.
Universal life, variable life, they ain't even going to be there when you're 100. Those things are gone. Right? Go on my Facebook, look at my saved links. I just saved 3 or 4 different articles of all. Transamerica right now is getting their pantsuit off. Like multi-class action lawsuits on their universal life policies that are all terminating because they did what we've been telling clients they're going to do for 20 years. Run. This thing's going to be gone. It's going to eat all your cash value because the cost of insurance is rising. Intra-policy, you have no idea on one day you're going to look at that. There's going to be no money, and you're going to get a lapse letter. No, it couldn't be. Go look at the hundreds of thousands of people suing them right now. Because it's exactly what happened.
For the save and submit, I've had 3 or 4 that we did it, and then they never had money in it. Like when I submitting it and it ended up getting canceled and all that, and I got charged back. So now when people say like, oh, I don't have it, I drop it down to 15 right away just to do it if you have 15. If they don't, I won't.
Okay, so that's a personal preference. So he's saying I've turned in save and submits that they still just didn't have money in there. Okay, and then it charged back, blah, blah, blah. So he's saying rather than doing $100 a month policy they can't afford right now but think they can next week, why not do a smaller one? So I generally will ask that, right? So Travis, when will you have the money? Well, and you'll be good for that? Well, I might not. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you know you could be good with? What could you afford right now? You know you're good with. And then I'll just write a smaller policy, get it issued, and then try to increase it later if it makes sense. Yeah, but yes and no, right? Because it's all on market. Okay, it's all in market. Okay, there's 2 sorts of save and submits. There's save and submits that are out of market because they're broke, and there's save and submits that are in market that their cash flows are much higher and they just haven't planned on that, right? If it's a $150 a month policy, but you're sitting with a guy that makes $100 grand and he just got a couple days before his next check hits, you're probably going to be okay. You need to be turning a $15 app on that guy. When you're sitting with somebody in a 600 square foot apartment and it don't look right in here and you're trying to talk to them, they need a $100 a month app.
Right.
But you know there ain't no way that it's going to be there next month or ever. That's when you should do that. But that's a market thing. Don't just do that to do it, right? Because, I mean, my save and submits go through. It's because I'm in a market of people who, can pay for it. Right? Any questions on that?
Now, if you drop it down to a lower amount, would they have to go through medicals again if you raise it back up?
Yes.
A certain percentage?
Yep. So if you just send in these little baby policies and then they want bigger ones, a lot of times they trigger additional medical underwriting. So again, you don't want to do that unless you're in a market where you're like, you're looking around, you're like, I don't know about this. You know your chargebacks before you write them most of the time. You're sitting there and you're like, Yeah. All right. Any questions on what we've gone over today? Any objections that you feel like we haven't covered? You've sat down, you get this, you get that, you're not sure how to cover it, how to get them to move forward.
What if they're just so, you show them the cost of the total policy, and the premium right now is double, and you cannot move them from that. There's just no, you tried every objection that you went over, and they're not budging.
Okay, so the only way that would ever be double is that if you were on an ART or you were...
No, like our premium was double monthly.
What they're currently paying, but the only way that happens is they're on an ART or they're really far in to a term they set up.
And it's going to explode on them.
Okay, so you just, you want to pay $1,000 a month now, or you want to pay $50 or $1,000 5 years from now, or $50 now? Which do you want to pay? You're going to have to pay something. Do you want to solve your problem now, or do you want to kick it to the curb and it's just going to be a way bigger problem later? I mean, I've never had anybody say, no, I'm just going to kick it down the road. If they do, run. I mean, they're just not thinking correctly. All right, you all, have a